Hey, this is Mrs. Lawson. This is the warm-up review of how do you write an equation given 2 points. This is from Thursday, November 29th and November 30th. So today what's going to happen is we are not going to get some easy points because some of you are just kind of looking at the 2 points and figuring out the pattern. And that's not always going to happen. So I'm just going to make up some random numbers and you're going to see we're not going to get some nice numbers when we get B and G. So our 2 points that we're going to work with first are 2 and 30, and then 6 and 120. So my job is to write an equation, and y equals b times g to the x, and when you write the equation, you need b and g. So what I'm going to do is start with 2 and 30, and I'm going to put that into this equation of y equals b times g to the x. So it's going to be y, which is 30, equals b times g to the x power, so to the second power. And then I'm going to do the same, but I'm going to do this with the other point with 6 and 120. So it's going to be 120 equals b times g to the 6th power. So what happens after this is they both have b and g in common, but what they have more specifically in common is that the b that they have is a plain b, where the g's are g to the 2nd and g to the 6th. So we're going to take the two equations and we're going to rewrite them so that b equals everything else. So to get b alone in my first equation, the one in blue, I'm going to move the g squared over to the other side of the equal sign. And since they're multiplied, I'll do that through division. So when I'm done, this will be 30 over g squared equals b. And then for the one in green, I'm going to do the same thing. To get b alone, I'm going to move g to the 6th to the left side of the equal sign by dividing. So it's going to be 120 over g to the 6th equals b. Now the idea is b equals b. So since they both equal b, they can just equal each other. So what I'm going to do is take the two equations and now set them equal to each other. This is a system of equations and we're using the substitution method. So our goal right now is to solve for g. The problem is g is in the denominator. So what we want to do is we want to get these onto the same level. So what we'll do is what's called cross products. So I'll take 30 times g to the 6th and 120 times g to the 2nd. And when I do that, I get 30 g6 and 120 g2. So now I have the g's on both sides. So what I want to do is get g on one side. So you can move g to the 6th to the right, or you can move g to the 2nd to the left. And it really doesn't matter, but in the end there's a better one to move, and it's always the smaller one. So what we're going to do is we're going to take g squared and we're going to get it to the other side. We're going to bring it to this side, and since it's multiplied to 120, we're going to move it through division just like this. Okay, those will cancel out and it's g squared. And since I'm moving the g's to the left side, what I'm going to do is move the numbers to the right side. So this 30 is going to move over here, and since it's multiplied, it will divide. So divide by 30, divide by 30. And right now we have, when we're done, those cancel out. On the left we have our g's, and on the right we have 120 over 30. So now I'm just going to clean up the left side and the right side. So the left side, we've been going over our rules of exponents. So on the left side, g6 over g2, that just turns into g to the 4th. And 120 divided by 30, that's actually a very nice number here, you get 4. So now I'm going to solve for g. And unfortunately, with this setup, I can't show you the graphing calculator, but to get rid of g, I'm going to take a 4th root of the 4th power. So I'll need to figure out the 4th root of 4. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your graphing calculator. You're going to be on the main screen and you're going to type in the number 4. And we're typing in the number 4 for this 4th root here. And then you're going to press your math button. And if you scroll down to the 5th option, you're going to see an X with that check mark. You want to select that. And now it's going to take the 4th root, and you'll put in this 4 next. And when you do that, you get g to be a pretty long decimal. So we're going to go 3 decimal places, so 1.414. So there's g. So we're halfway there. So now I got to find b. So when I find b, what I want to do is come back up to the equations that I was working with. So I was working with these 4 equations that have b and g. And so I have equations on the left in blue and equations on the right in green. So I can use either set, but I'm going to go with the blue ones because they are smaller. So I'm going to ignore these. And then when I'm focusing on these two, which one is easier to find b? That's definitely this bottom one right here. So what I'm going to do is take my g, and I will use the decimal, and I'm going to take 30 and I'm going to put it over 1.414, and I'm going to square that number, and then that will be my b. So 30 divided by, and I'm using my calculator, which you can't see, and when I'm done I get b to be a pretty long decimal, but if I round it, it's actually just 15. So now I have my equation. Here's the final answer, putting the two together. Y equals b times g, which I'll put in parentheses. Let's see. To the x power. And this is the final answer for those set of points. All right, we're going to do another one. So let's pick another two random points to do. So the first point I'm going to pick is 1, 5. And the other point I'm going to pick is 6 and 75. So again, first thing I'm going to do is take those equations and put them into y equals b times g to the x. So starting with the one on the left, let's go ahead and do that. So it's going to be y, which is 5, equals b times g to the first power. That's your x. And then I'll do the other one, and that's going to be y, which is 75, equals b times g, and my 6's don't look very good on here, to the 6th power. So again, since they both have a b, I'm going to get them so that b's alone. So in the blue equation, I'm going to move g over to the left side of the equal sign to join the 5, and since they're multiplied, I'll do that through division, so I get this. Whoops. I'm going to keep my colors the same. So this will be 5 over g to the first equals b, and the one in green, I'll do the same thing. So it becomes 75 over g to the 6th equals b. Now that they both equal b, I can set these two equal to each other. So I'll have 5 over g to the first equals 75 over g to the 6th. And our goal right now is to solve for g. So g's on the lower level. We're going to do that cross products real quick. So when I'm done there, I'll have 5 times g to the 6th equals 75 times g to the 1. And again, since I'm solving for g, I want to get all the g's on the one side, and it's better to move the smaller one. So I'm going to move this g to the first over here by dividing. So that becomes g6 over g1. And that means I'm going to move the numbers to the other side by dividing. So that becomes 75 over 5. So now I'm just going to clean up these two fractions. G6 over G1 becomes G to the 5th power, and 75 divided by 5 is a nice number. It's 15. And so now to figure out what G is, I'll take the 5th root. So you'll need your calculator. You'll take the 5th root of this and the 5th root of 15, which is not going to be a nice number. But you'll be on the main screen. You're going to type 5 for the 5th root. You're going to press the math button, and you'll scroll down to the 5th option because there's an X. You'll select that option. So you now have a 5th power, or I'm sorry, a 5th root going, and now you just want to type in 15, so you have the 5th root of 15. Again, a long decimal, but we'll just round it to the nearest thousand, so 719. I'm just looking at my calculator, so there's G. So now, again, I'm halfway there. I need to go back, and I'm going to figure out what B is. So to find B, I should go back to my 4 equations that had B and G. Again, I've got the ones in blue on the left, the ones on green on the right. The ones on the right are just too big of numbers, so I'm going to use the ones on the left. And which one would I rather use to find B? This one. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to have 5 over G to the first, which is just 1.719, and that will tell me B. So on my calculator, I'm just going to divide those two out. And when I'm done, B is also a long decimal, but it's rounded to 0.909. And from there, I can put those two into my final equation. Y equals B. Okay. And then in parentheses, because there's a lot of decimals, so I won't do a multiplication dot, G to the x power. So there is the first warm-up that we're going to be doing on reviewing how to write an equation based on 2 points.